Most of you guys are probably familiar with the Bomberman games. You walk around planting bombs to defeat enemies while trying not to blow yourself up in the process. They're simple arcade style games, and the transition to 3D on the Nintendo 64 was also tons of fun. But that's not the game we're playing today, because in the late 90s, mascot platformer collectathons were all the rage. Everyone wanted to be Mario or Banjo-Kazooie, and even Bomberman couldn't resist getting in on the hype, and thus Bomberman Hero was born. This game is an entirely different experience from the standard Bomberman games, but the fact that it's able to keep some of its DNA from the original games makes it one of the more unique 3D platformers on the Nintendo 64. The overall objective is the same. You still have to destroy all the enemies to get high scores, and there's power-ups that make you stronger, but they're not permanent upgrades, so it still feels like a classic Bomberman formula, but completely reworked into a 3D platforming experience. And I thought replaying this game was just going to be a nice trip down memory lane, but I soon realized there's tons of content in this game I never experienced as a kid. I didn't know there was a true final boss or any of the other post-game content until this playthrough. So I was really excited to not only replay a classic game from my childhood, but to finally 100% the game and see everything it has to offer. And of course, we're going to add some additional challenges thanks to Retro Achievements, a platform that adds achievement support to all your favorite nostalgic retro games. There are 43 achievements in total, and to get them all, we have to finish every level with enough points for the highest rating, find all the collectibles, defeat every boss, and even do some speedrun challenges along the way. If you're new to the channel, my name's Nostalgic Juice. I'm on a quest to replay all my childhood games I grew up with and get their retro achievements. So if you enjoy achievement hunting, 100% completion, and challenge run videos, then make sure you subscribe because I upload a video just like this every single week. With all that said, let's start blasting our way through Bomberman Hero. We're starting things off in space, where everything is peaceful until this Death Star looking planet appears and starts attacking the nearby planets. Princess Million and Pip-Bot manage to escape on a shuttle, and they head for Bomberman's planet to get help, but they're caught in a tractor beam. The princess gives Pip-Bot an important data disk and tells him to go find Bomberman. We can see his ship crashing in the distance, but we'll have to go find him later. For now, we have to go through our training. And here in the first level, we get a chance to get a feel for things. There's all sorts of enemies to deal with in this game, and our main attack is obviously gonna be the bombs. We can throw them, we can kick them, and we can even drop them in mid-air jumping over enemies. One of the harder things to get used to is getting a feel for how far the bombs get thrown. There's no auto lock or aim assist, so you have to kind of eyeball the distances, and that's tricky at first, but eventually you get the hang of it. And just like in the classic Bomberman games, there's power-ups we can collect to make us stronger. The main two being bomb power-ups, which allow us to throw more bombs at a time, and then the fire power-ups, which increase the blast radius. And just like every other platform collectathon, there's collectibles to find in the form of crystals. Collecting these gives us points, and at the end of each level we get a score based on how many points we got. In order to get all 5 clear points, we have to meet the required score, which in most cases requires us to collect everything and destroy every enemy in each level. No matter how cute they may be, we must destroy them all. And we even pick up our very first achievement for getting all 5 clear points in the first level. Getting all the points in the levels is pretty straightforward for the most part. As long as you're exploring thoroughly, you'll find everything pretty easily in most cases. There are a few exceptions later in the game, but I'll get into that when we get there. Another thing you have to keep an eye out for are these alternate exits. Some levels have these, and going through them unlocks more levels, but in most cases you've already collected a bunch of stuff, so it's best to come back for these. All the levels are replayable through the menu, so nothing is missable, which I really appreciate because I had to replay Luigi's Mansion twice in my last achievement video, all because I missed one ghost. Our last collectible to find are these attic bombs. There's 24 of these in total, and they're not in every level, and they're usually hidden better than the standard collectibles. And we'll need all these to access some hidden post-game content. In the Sky Room, we have our first speedrun achievement for completing the level in less than 42 seconds. The speedruns in this game are pretty tight, so they're definitely a challenge, but they don't require any kind of crazy speedrun techniques or glitches. You just have to be efficient and not struggle to break open boxes or anything. They're hard enough that you'll have to do a few attempts to figure out the optimal route, but none of them are too crazy. And we picked up the achievement in this level in just a few attempts. Now that our training is done, we're officially a real Bomberman, and we get our first mission, which is to go check out the UFO that crashed into the mountain. So off we go to officially begin our adventure. Now that we're officially licensed, we get some new toys to play with as well. The first one we're trying out is the Bombermarine. In these levels, our bombs are replaced with torpedoes, and we have to swim our way through the level, blasting everything in our path just like normal. But these levels have some more verticality to them since we can now swim in all directions. We have another speedrunning achievement for this level as well for beating the level in 80 seconds, which at first I thought was impossible because at the end there's this big crab blocking the exit who takes several hits to defeat. And then once you do beat him, an even bigger crab takes his place. These crab fights alone are about 80 seconds, but it turns out we don't even have to fight them. We can simply take damage and then just walk through them to reach the end of the level. And I love how the name of the achievement sort of implies this too, so it's a very nice achievement that taught me a cool speedrunning trick. Our next new vehicle is a few levels later where we get to use the jetpack. At first glance, it's pretty similar to the Bomberman, but the big difference is we cannot go backwards. We can only hit the brakes for a few seconds to slow down, which means if we miss a collectible, we can't go back for it. Fortunately though, these levels are pretty generous with the required points, so you don't have to get everything, you just have to prioritize the important stuff to get all the clear points. And they usually end with a little mini boss battle, so these levels are pretty fun. Speaking of battles, at the end of Area 2, we meet Nitro, soldier of the Garin Empire, and I hope you like him because we're going to be seeing him a lot throughout this playthrough. At least his soundtrack is pretty epic though, so I'm not complaining. He attacks us by slide kicking, and occasionally if he lands on one of these platforms, he'll do a special attack where it launches spikes at us. He's pretty slippery and good at dodging attacks, but all we have to do is hit him with a couple of well-placed bombs and we're able to take him out and get an achievement. But in order to get the best rank on boss fights, you have to do them quickly. And I actually got our first death of the run here when trying to finish him off quick enough. Which was fine, we have 5 more lives, but we do have to be careful with dying because if we get a game over, we lose all our power-ups we collected so far. You might have also noticed my health went up from 4 to 5, and that's because every 200 crystals we grab adds 1 unit to our health. But these upgrades are not permanent. If we run out of lives and get a game over, we go back to only 4 health and we lose all our power-ups. So there actually is some pressure to not get a game over. Of course, you could always run back to the first level and just farm extra lives, so the threat is only as risky as you want it to be. What's interesting is this is actually exclusive to the North American versions of the game. In the Japanese versions, you do keep your power-ups and health, even after a game over. Even the layouts of the levels and the points required for the highest rank were made more difficult, though overall, the game is still pretty easy for the most part. We have a few more speedrunning achievements for the first world. The first one is in Clown Valley, where for some reason there's just these clown enemies everywhere. Honestly, this game is so goofy with the enemies. There are so many unique enemies that just appear once and then never again, like these Geodude looking rock guys that we fought earlier. But anyways, back to Clown Valley, this speedrun just requires us to take the right path up the cliffs, and then we can make this jump to the bridge and basically skip the whole level in under 18 seconds for the achievement. We finally made it to rescue the princess, but before we can get to her, we have our first boss fight against Endel, one of the 4 devils of Garin. The fight starts with him on a raised platform with these electrical rods spinning around that we have to dodge, and there's no indication of when he's going to switch the direction of the spinning rods, so it's all up to our quick reflexes and we have to jump and dodge and try to hit him with bombs wherever possible. And we do have to hit him in the front, so we can't just spam bombs, we actually have to try to aim them. Once we deal enough damage, he comes down and starts firing electric balls at us, which are honestly way easier to dodge than the spinning rods. So we chuck some more bombs at him and defeat him for another achievement. But we didn't do it fast enough for the best rank, so we had to run it back one more time. Getting all 5 clear points on boss battles just requires us to be super aggressive. We pretty much always want to be attacking, even if that means we take damage, because there's a cooldown once they take damage before they can take damage again, so we can't waste any time. But since he's the first fight, he's not that difficult, and we managed to beat him fast enough for all 5 clear points, and we're officially done with the first world. And yes, that was not a mistake, that was only the first world. We have the training grounds, underwater levels, mountains, forests, cave levels. If I didn't know any better and you showed me all these levels, I would think that was like 5 worlds worth of levels. But this was all just the first planet. And there are 3 more planets to go just like this. This first world alone has 14 levels. Granted, they're all very short, but they also introduce a lot of new enemies and mechanics. So there's constantly something new, so it never really feels repetitive. And as far as achievements go, we get 3 achievements per world for getting all the clear points in each of the 3 areas, so we're already making really good progress towards our completion. Before heading to the next world, I decided to take a little break and grab an easy achievement for checking out the sound test mode, which just lets you play all the game's music and sound effects. A very cute feature and an easy achievement, but little did I know I should not have done this. Because remember how I said that if we get a game over, we lose all our power-ups and health upgrades? Well, it turns out quitting the game does the same thing, meaning we're back at square one. Getting our max bomb and fire power-ups isn't a big deal, but collecting 200 gems to upgrade our health takes a lot of time. I get they were probably going for making this feel more like an arcade experience, and I could get on board with that if I got a game over and lost all my stuff, but this just feels like a punishment for quitting the game. Definitely something I don't think is aged very well. Our second planet, Primus Star, starts with us navigating the tunnels underneath the castle where the princess is being held. We balance on some sci-fi looking trampolines, then we're underwater fighting a giant manta ray, until finally we end up on the level water slider, where we have our next speedrun achievement for doing it in less than 28 seconds. At the start of the level, we can save some time by getting a running start down the water and then jumping right to the next platform, and that skips taking the upper path. From there we have to hit the switch to activate the elevator, and then we have to make sure to jump on the side rail because if we land in the water, we'll go too slow. We also don't have to destroy that enemy at the end, we can just jump into him and bounce into the finish line. And that gets us inside the castle where we see the princess being taken further inside. The next few levels have us inside the castle, which I'm definitely seeing some OSHA violations with these rolling rocks, then we're jetpacking our way through the castle halls that are swarmed with bad guys, and then we're in the dungeons where we get a new power-up to try out that lets our bombs be controlled remotely. Idiot! Again, I really like how these levels look so different visually, yet still feel connected to what's going on in the story. Then we have the water pool, where I had to replay it like 4 times because I could not get these crystals because of my chronic skill issues. But at least it gave us some practice for our next speedrun achievement where we have to beat this level in 30 seconds. The big time saver here is we can skip these spiked platforms by simply jumping around them instead of waiting for the spikes to go away. Then at the end, we can use these stacked boxes to jump across the gap without taking the higher path, and that was enough to get the achievement. We finally caught up with Princess Million, who's being held in a prison cell. She tells us Nitro is looking for that data disk, and speak of the devil, there he is. So we have ourselves another fight. This time he has a new flying disc attack, which is probably his most annoying attack because the discs don't despawn until they hit us, or we bomb them. And speaking of bombs, Nitro now also drops bombs as well because he's just a copycat. But he's still no match for us, and we defeat him a second time for another achievement. What happened to you? I leave for 5 seconds to go fight a guy, and then you get knocked over like a turtle. He's like one of those food delivery robots. He got knocked over, he can't get back up. Oh God, wow. I turned my back for not even a minute. And we got her on top of a giant clock tower? I can't look away for 2 seconds. We're back to chasing the princess down yet again. This time we have to make our way outside the castle up to that clock tower. But at least we get to play one of my favorite levels. I really like this bomber copter mechanic, and sadly we only have a few levels like this. But it's very fun and satisfying to just zip around in the air and drop bombs on top of enemies while also dodging and weaving through their attacks. And we have another speedrun achievement for this level for doing it in 65 seconds, which is a lot more time than most of the speedruns because we do have to destroy all the submarines to progress. And there's no fancy tricks here, we just have to be quick and efficient. The submarines do take 2 attacks to destroy and there's a cooldown between them, so juggling multiple subs at once is a good idea to save time. And we can also skip destroying the last enemy by damage buffering through him, although I think that ended up being slower, but we still got the achievement on our first try. We make our way up the clock tower, dodging spikes and buried enemies that attack us when we get too close, and then I had to climb all the way back up because I was convinced there was some kind of treasure if we jumped down this hole. Even though I already found the attic bomb at the top of the tower, so what else could possibly be down there? And to nobody's surprise, there was in fact nothing in the hole, so I had to do the walk of shame back up the tower. Then our next level has us climbing up the clock tower from the inside, dodging enemies and these giant gears rolling down at us, and we finally make it to the top and meet our next boss, Baruda. And again, we get to use the bomber copter for this fight. His attacks aren't too difficult to dodge. He starts off by firing these pink balls of energy at us, and then after damaging him a few times, he switches to firing lasers at us. He also inflates himself for whatever reason, which just makes him an easier target, so we just drop 100 bombs on him and defeat him for an easy achievement. But if you think that means the princess is rescued, think again, because we learned that she's now been taken to the Kanatia star. Before heading out to rescue her, we do have to refight Baruda so we can get the highest rank, which wasn't difficult at all. He's not difficult to hit, especially when he inflates. So we just gotta stay aggressive on him. It's easier to hit him if we don't get too high above him, that way the bombs don't have to travel as far. So the hardest part is just figuring out that sweet spot distance where we can hit him easily without getting hit by our own blasts. We ended up beating him with over 1,000 points more than we needed, and that's 3 more achievements for getting all the clear points in the second world. We arrive on the next planet and got ourselves some volcano levels, starting with the Hades crater where we have to descend into the volcano using our bomber copter. And then we have Magma Lake, and because it's so hot in the volcano, our health depletes over time. But we can get our health back by stepping into these cooling chambers. It's a cool idea that sadly only gets used in one other level, which is a common occurrence in this game. I guess that's a blessing and a curse, because if there's something that you don't like, you only have to deal with it once or twice, but if there's something fun, then it kinda sucks you don't get to do it more in the game. But I do love all the different kinds of mechanics and gimmicks they pack into this game. We have our first speedrun of this world on Magma Lake for beating it in under 29 seconds, which honestly is a pretty generous amount of time. The biggest time save obviously is going to be not using the cooling chambers, which is easier than you would think. I ended up taking damage several times from enemies, and we were still able to get this one on the first try without using any of the cooling chambers. So that was probably our easiest speedrun achievement so far. Then we get to our first hoverboard level, our final new vehicle, and it definitely takes some getting used to. As you can see, we were just a little off the score needed for the 5 clear points. But after I got the hang of things, it was actually really fun. Though it feels weird to have a Bomberman level that doesn't involve bombs. Like all the other special type of levels, we don't need perfection here. Missing a few items is fine, as long as we get the high value crystals, we'll have enough to get all the clear points. We get a cutscene before the next level, showing off a little glimpse of the leader of the 4 devils of Garin as she knocks us out with her pet robot spider. So we're starting the next level off trapped in jail. Lucky for us though, they put the switch that opens the door right outside near the conveniently placed hole in the jail cell. And we have our next speedrun achievement here for beating this level in 24 seconds. And this one took a few attempts to figure out the optimal strategy. The slowest part of the level is getting past this part with these slow jumping statues, and ultimately I decided to just damage buffer through them. Then we can skip a huge chunk of the level by making this jump. And from there, all we have to do is jump to cut this last corner. It was very tight timing, but we did it and got the achievement. We take a stroll down Death Road, fighting our way past these alarm clock enemies, and then we have Death Garden, where I struggled to get all the clear points because these flower enemies are hiding until we walk close to them, so they were annoying to track down. And then there was Float Zone, where we have these bubble power-ups that let us fly around in a bubble, which was pretty cute. Then we blew up a giant water tank in the next level, which floods the entire building, so our next level is another Bomberman level, where I got jump scared by this giant skeleton fish. Get away! Get away! Get away! Stop it! Stop it! Ah! Kill him, Bomber! No, he's too scary. I don't like him. Little did I know, destroying him was a mistake, because when I ended the level, I was missing a lot of points. It turns out what we were supposed to do is allow ourselves to get swallowed by him, because inside his stomach is a whole second part to the level that I skipped over. I guess I'm just too good at video games. And I'll have to tap into those gaming skills because we have yet another encounter with Nitros. And the princess, who is just not having a good day. She's been locked in jail, trapped on a clock tower, and now she's shackled to the wall. I do love Bomberman's confidence though. This time we're gonna save her for sure. This time around, Nitros has these 3 shield generators that we have to take out before we can damage him. But once we do, it's actually an easier fight because he's back to only having 2 special attacks to choose from. He does drop more bombs now, but he only drops them behind him and I'm in front of him, so yeah. Another easy Nitros fight and basically a free achievement. And now we can finally rescue the princess and she's gone. Sorry Bomberman, your princess is on another planet. And our next level in Area 3 is the absolute worst level, not just in this game, but probably like my top 5 worst levels in any platformer game I've played. The whole gimmick is we have to ride these coasters, which move very, very slow. And since we need all the stuff to get enough points for the highest rank, we have to do so much backtracking to take each coaster. We do get this new power-up that lets us fling bombs way further, so that at least gives us something to do while we ride these stupid things. But yeah, this level just sucks. I'm glad there's no achievements tied to it. I don't ever want to see this level ever again. In the dark maze, we have these slug enemies that are somehow immune to regular bombs, so we have to pick up this salt bomb power-up, which transforms our bombs into salt bombs. The thing is, these salt bombs only work on the slugs, and you can't just toggle back and forth between the regular and the salt bombs, so to get all the points, we have to run through the level first with regular bombs, blow up everything that we can, then backtrack for the salt bombs, and then take out the slugs. Which makes this level a little annoying, but I do like the idea of different bomb types. We also have a speedrun achievement for doing this level in less than 13 seconds, which isn't too difficult since you can just jump over all the gaps and get right to the end. You don't even have to pick up the salt bombs, just jump over the slugs and bounce into the finish line for the achievement. Our next level is another coaster level, but at least this one has you dodging things while riding, so it wasn't as bad as the first one until the very end because the last enemy is standing right in front of the exit. So I missed him and had to replay the entire level because I didn't get enough points. But now that we're done with all that, it's time for our next boss. And he turned Pibot into stone. Who does this guy think he is, Medusa? Alright now, I'm gonna go fight this guy, princess. Just stay right there and please don't go anywhere. In the first phase, Bulban will either try to turn us to stone with this attack, or he launches cannons at us, both of which are easy to dodge, but we do have to hit him in his face or his tail, so he's a bit harder to damage than the other bosses. And after taking enough damage, he eventually shields his face, so now we can only hit his tail. There's also a third phase to this fight where he stomps around and causes rocks to fall from the ceiling, but that's pretty much the easiest phase because he's no longer moving around, so hitting him is a lot easier. And after we hit him a few more times, he's defeated and that's another achievement for us. Defeating him frees Pibot from his stone prison, and of course the princess was once again taken to another planet. So we'll have to go chase her down. But not before fighting Bulban one more time so we can beat him quick enough for the 5 clear points. And I learned if we're fast, we can sneak in an extra attack just before he brings up his face shield, meaning that's one less tail attack that we need. But even without that trick, as long as we stay aggressive and keep hitting him, we can get the points that we need, and then that's 3 more achievements for getting all the clear points on the 3rd planet. We arrive at the 4th planet, Mazone Star, home of Louis, and I love this guy, but first, can I just point out that it's so dumb that we came to this planet and Pibot says, Louis lives here, let's call him. Like, is there not an entire planet that he could just be anywhere on? That's like if aliens came to Earth and were like, Nostalgic Juice lives here, let's give him a call. Like, Louis could have been on the other side of the planet for all we know. But okay, enough poking holes in the story, the important thing is the gameplay, and I love the Louis levels. He's fast, jumps very high, and we defeat enemies by bouncing on them. He can even do wall kicks to climb up to higher areas. And most of all, he's just cute. I mean, look at this little guy. And we get to play this level twice because we have a speedrun achievement for beating the level in 33 seconds. There's not much technique or anything to this speedrun. Getting hit by enemies or missing jumps will slow us down, so just don't do any of that. Honestly, I think the only reason why there's even a speedrun achievement is because the achievement developer is a Louis fan as well. Sadly, the entire world is not Louis levels, and we still have to navigate most of the levels with Bomberman. First, we gotta go through the rest of the jungle, then we're in a frozen lake dodging these giant icicles underwater, and then we're in some ice caves, and we get a new bomb type that instead of blowing up enemies, it freezes them so we can jump on top of them. And once again, I really do like these elemental bombs. I wish the game had more of these kinds of levels. Maybe even let us switch between bomb types or something. And the snow levels aren't stopping anytime soon. We have Snowland where we're blasting our way through these snowmen on skis. Then we're climbing another snowy mountain on top of Louis, bouncing our way through some floating snowballs, and of course it wouldn't be a real snow world without at least one snowboarding level. This one was a lot harder than the first one we did since there's tons of places to fall off. I definitely lost some lives here. But eventually we do get past all the snow and ice levels and end up jetpacking through some kind of temple which is guarded by this 2-headed snake creature. And I don't exactly know how afterwards we ended up on Rainbow Road, but this level is interesting because there's these two giant snakes chasing us through the entire thing. And we do have to defeat them for the clear points, which is easier said than done because throwing bombs at them while they're zipping around in the air is pretty difficult. But I came up with a cheesy little trick for easily dodging these guys, and it's all thanks to this armor power up that we picked up, which protects us from our own bomb blasts. And we can abuse this because when we throw a bomb into another bomb, the second bomb gets detonated by the first bomb's blast. And if we keep spamming bombs, then each bomb is getting detonated by the last one. Until eventually the blast radius is right on top of us, and since we're protected from our own bombs, we're basically creating an explosive shield. So instead of trying to hit the snakes, we can just let them come to us and they'll get taken out by the blast radius. The only downside is we can't move while employing this tactic, so it won't work for our next speedrun achievement. But there's plenty of shortcuts on this level, the biggest one being right here, and the rest of the level is pretty much just running and dodging enemies on the narrow paths, which was tricky, but I got it in a few attempts for another achievement. Then we bump into our friend Nitros, who finally figures out that Bomberman has that data disk they've been looking for, so we have yet another fight. He ditches the shield from the last fight, and now he has these panels that create fire geysers. And I took way too much damage because I didn't realize it was making our bombs explode early. I don't know why I wasn't processing that. Nitros also finally figured out that bombs work better when you actually throw them at your target, so he actually got us down to 1 health left. But at this point, I'm an expert at dealing with this guy. I even beat him with enough points for all 5 clear points on our very first try. We get a message from the princess who tells us there's 3 more discs that are hidden around this dome that we're in, and Garin really wants them. So she tells us to go find them. We find one in the air room where we have to jump through these air tube things that they use at the bank drive-thrus. Then we find another one in the zero gravity room where we can flip a switch to lower the gravity and jump super high. And it also for some reason makes us move in slow motion. And the final disc we find in the mirror room where parts of the level are invisible and we have to use the reflection to navigate. Eventually we'll get to the mirrored side and there's these ghost Bombermans on this side, and these guys used to freak me out so much as a kid. But we'll have to get over that fear because we have a speedrun achievement in this level for clearing it in less than 46 seconds. There's no major skips or shortcuts that I'm aware of, the hardest thing is just quickly navigating through the reflection parts. I actually had a really sloppy run, I even fell off one of the platforms and had to take a slower route back, but still had enough time to get the achievement, so this one wasn't too bad. Somehow the princess found us, and Bomberman didn't find it at all suspicious that she somehow broke free, made her way over here, and is now asking for all these super important discs that were hidden. I mean, the fact that she's actually here and isn't being taken to another castle alone is suspicious. But I mean, surely this is the real princess, it's not like she's an imposter or anything. Oh my god, she has a whip too? I'm starting to think the Garin Empire isn't that bad, where do I sign up? Our next boss fight is a 2v1, and we first have to deal with her spider friend. He'll either attack us with a laser or he'll fire missiles at us, and those are actually kinda hard to dodge at first, but I figured out that you can drop bombs while running and that takes care of them pretty easily. Once we defeat the spider, we just have to deal with Kanatia, who attacks with her whip and throwing knives. She's also very agile and jumps around a lot, making her hard to hit. Half my attacks I was just throwing bombs at her off screen. Once we hit her a few more times, we take her out for another achievement. We'll have to fight her again to get all the clear points, but first we find the real princess trapped inside this dome, and we finally get to free her, but now we have bigger problems to deal with, because now that Garin has those data discs, they're gonna revive some guy named Lord Bagular, so we'll have to deal with him. But first we head back to go fight Nadia to get the highest rank. I would say this was the hardest fight to get all 5 clear points so far, but by now we have 8 health, so that makes it a lot easier since we can just take damage recklessly. Which makes cornering Nadia easier, though she still did dodge a lot of my attacks. But we still took her out and got all 5 clear points, and now we're officially done with World 4, so that's 3 more achievements. Our final world is Garin Star. The big bad Lord Bagular has been revived, and it's time for retribution according to him. Apparently Bomberman knows this guy. I'll be honest, I'm not up to date on my Bomberman lore, so this game was my first and only time seeing him, even to this day. But clearly he's up to no good. He tells us he's revived the 4 Devils of Garin, so before we can take care of Bagular, we have a boss rush where we have to fight all the previous bosses in all new arenas. And I love a good boss rush, and the remixed arenas were a nice way to spice things up, although I do wish we could have used the Bombercopter again to fight Badura. Next up we have a fight against Bulbin underwater, and his attacks were super hard to dodge. This probably would have been the most difficult fight if we didn't have the full health bar, but since we had that, we're able to defeat him on our very first try. Cronus, the robot spider that Nadia was controlling, even gets his own 1v1 fight against us this time. But aside from this one, the fights aren't too different, and we've gotten pretty good at the game by this point, so we're beating them with enough time left for the highest rank on the first try. And of course we have another fight against Nitros. I mean, it wouldn't be a boss rush without the most persistent boss in the game. And he's kinda crazy this time, pulling out all the stops and using the shields, bombs, and all the special attack tiles from every previous fight. He actually got me dead on my first try, though I did go into the fight with half health to be fair. But on our second attempt, we locked in and defeated him for another achievement. Where am I? Why am I? No! You're not gonna switch teams. Shut up. Do not tell me he's like, I was being brain controlled this whole time. I didn't know what I was doing. Now that I kicked your ass 5 times? No! You can't just join my team, Nitro! Just because I beat your ass 5 times, you wanna... No! You picked your side, buddy. I'm so mad. No, I don't want your power! Keep it! Get out of here! I don't want your power, Nitro! Our next fight is against Nadia, and oh god, now there's 2 Nadias whipping us? I mean, you know, now that I think about it, I might be brainwashed too, so I'm gonna go join the Garin Empire. Nitros can be the new Bomberman. Also, it's kind of weird that he shared his power with us in that last cutscene, but that doesn't seem to mean anything. I think what that does is he gives you maximum firepower and bomb power, but you probably already have that by this point. He doesn't even refill our health, which would have been the more useful thing. And you only even get that power during that cutscene, which only happens after the first defeat, so it's not even repeatable. Kind of a weird little detail, honestly. After taking out Nadia for a second time, we finally make our way to Bagular. And this is the longest fight in the game, lasting 4 phases. His first phase is easy enough, he just lunges at us or shoots shockwaves, or sometimes he just teleports around. Once we hit him a few times, he switches to these floating TV helicopter things. 3 of them appear each wave and only 1 of them is real. As far as I can tell, there's no way to identify the real one besides just attacking them. So your best bet is to try to hit them when they're grouped together. But there is a little bit of luck involved here too, which makes getting the highest rank just a little bit harder. Once we damage him enough times, he switches to this big armored mech suit. His 2 main attacks are the laser he shoots out of the right arm and then the electric claw on his left, as well as the missiles that he fires from the top. And I was really struggling to dodge all these attacks at first, and we even died on the first attempt, which sends us all the way back to the first phase. So now I'm really glad I decided to play this entire game in one stream so I can take advantage of that maximum health bar. During the third phase, we have to attack his arms, and I realize you can attack both arms at the same time, and once they're taken out, the final phase begins. He's still shooting missiles at us from the top, but now he's firing these big lasers at us too. And these were super hard to dodge. Thankfully I got good at phase 3, so I went into this last phase with plenty of health, and after bombing him a few more times, we finally deal the final blow and defeated Bagular, and got an achievement for doing so. Bagular didn't take the L very well though, and decides to blow up his entire Death Star, but we make our epic getaway and the game is officially beaten. The princess throws a big celebration for Bomberman saving the day, and peace has returned to the galaxy. But we still do have some achievements to go, so we're not done just yet. We didn't even get all the clear points on that last battle, so we'll have to fight him again. But that was about to get a lot more difficult because once you beat the game, it sends you back to the main menu, which means we lose all of our health and power-ups. Which sucks because I was really hoping to rely on that increased health to finish that fight quicker. And I guess I could have just grinded and got it all back, and I did entertain that idea for the next stream, but that would just take so long, so I decided let's lock in and get good instead. And that ended up being the right decision because I absolutely destroyed this guy on my very first attempt. I had a lot of practice with the first 3 phases, so I was able to get to the final phase without taking any damage, and I still didn't really figure out how to dodge those lasers in the final phase, but I only took 3 points of damage before finishing him off. So even without the extra bit of health that I grinded for, we would have been fine. It turns out all I needed was a good night's sleep. I'm so glad I didn't spend an hour grinding back to 8 health, otherwise I would have been really mad I ended up doing it on my first try this easily. We ended up winning the fight with 1,000 more points than we needed, and that got us the achievement for getting all the clear points on Garin Star. And now that we've gotten the highest rank on every single level in the game, we unlock the Gothic Star, which has 2 bonus levels for us to play, and then we get to fight the true final boss, Evil Bomber, who I had no idea existed until this playthrough. The first new level is a jetpacking level where we're going down a very narrow corridor, bombing our way through enemies in tight quarters. Then we have the Inner Road, which is our final speedrun achievement level, and our time to beat is 27 seconds. There's not too much to this level though, we just have to run past the rolling rocks, and then when we get to the end, we want to take the upper path, which is obviously the faster one with these launch pads. I mean, this level is pretty easy, only a fake gamer would lose on this one. What? Pfft, come on! Are you kidding me? Oh, that's a game over? God damn it. So we cleared that level on our first try, and then got our final speedrun achievement. And then we're ready to face Evil Bomber, another villain Bomberman is apparently acquainted with, and he's the one who set all those attic bombs that we had to collect throughout the game. I was prepared for this to be the hardest fight in the game with the way this guy's been teed up, but honestly, this was one of the easiest fights in the entire game. He has a dive attack that goes for not even a quarter of the arena. He's got some fire attacks and this ninja star that works like Nitro's disc, both of which are easy to dodge. The only hard attack to dodge is this one where he covers the whole arena, but if we bomb him before he does that, it usually cancels that attack. He doesn't even have multiple phases. I didn't even realize the fight was over when it was. Oh, that's it? Okay, that was not a very difficult boss at all. That was quite easy. So yeah, a bit anticlimactic, but that was the true final boss. We beat him on our first try, and now we really beat the game. We do have to beat him again to get all 5 clear points, but the hardest part of that was just remembering how many points we needed so we can reset the try again if we missed it. So we took him out once again, got our achievement for getting all the clear points, and now we have just 3 achievements to go. And we're going to get these achievements by completing the bonus content that we can access in the options menu. The first one being the slider race, where we have to challenge this snowman to a race and we have to beat him and finish in under 42 seconds. The course is just a modified version of the first snowboarding level we did in the story mode, but this guy goes pretty fast. Finishing in under 42 seconds isn't the hard part, it's actually getting ahead of this guy. The best way to do it is to try to spend as much time going straight as possible. Light turns to avoid obstacles is key because you go slower when turning. After a few practice rounds, we got the hang of it and we beat him for the achievement. Then we have the Golden Bomber levels. Bomberman gets blinged out in a golden suit, and that's not just for show. This suit allows us to walk underwater, so we get to play through one of the Bomber Marine levels, but this time as if it was a normal level. And this was a lot of fun. It's not a huge difference, but just something to mix things up. The second level is one of the jetpack levels, but once again, we get to just run around like normal. And I really like that we get to use the glove power-up to throw the bombs further. That was a really fun power-up that only appeared in that one crappy roller coaster level. The final Golden Bomber level is a new one with these rainbow conveyor belts. We don't have to worry about getting all the clear points this time though, we can just play all these levels at our leisure. The last enemy at the end of this level gave me some trouble, but I managed to somehow hang on, and after we defeated him, we cleared the final level and got an achievement for finishing all 3 of the Golden Bomber levels. The last bonus mode is Millions Treasure Hunt. Pitbot tells us that a transport ship hauling treasure stolen from Garin Star was destroyed, and the treasures have been scattered all over the planets. There are 24 treasures to find, and we have to replay each level to try to find them. They're just like the attic bombs, not every level has them, so you either have to play every level and keep an eye out, or just look up what levels have them. I really like this mode though. I like the idea of replaying all the levels and finding new collectibles, although I am not happy I had to replay this roller coaster level. But after we track down all the treasure, we get another cutscene with the princess, but to my surprise, no achievement popped. Our last achievement is for completing 3 particularly secret levels, and I assume they meant the 3 levels here, Slider Race, the Golden Bomber levels, and Millions Treasure Hunt. But it turns out this game has one last secret that I never knew about. If we mash the start button while booting up the game, that apparently unlocks 3 more bonus levels. I will admit this was pretty finicky to get to work, and a lot of the comments on retro achievements were saying that as well. Some people were saying that you have to use a turbo button to press the button fast enough, and that probably is the easiest thing to do, but eventually after trying it a bunch of times, we got it and the bonus button appeared on the file select screen. And after selecting the bonus levels, we get a cutscene of Bomberman flying to the moon of Planet Bomber, and that's where we'll find our last 3 bonus levels. Unlike the Golden Bomber levels, these levels are all unique. None of them are remixed versions of previous levels. And I'm willing to bet a lot of people who played this game had no idea these are a thing. There's even unique enemies that I don't recognize from any other level. And once again, we don't have to worry about getting all the clear points for the achievements, but that didn't stop me from getting them all anyway. I mean, this is my first time seeing these levels, so I wasn't trying to speedrun through them. I'm honestly surprised they went through the effort of making all these new assets and levels just for some bonus content that most players would probably never see. They weren't exactly the best levels, but I really like seeing something new in this game for the first time. That's one of the best feelings about revisiting older games, is seeing the stuff that you missed out on. And I was surprised to see just how much bonus stuff was added into this game. After clearing all 3 of these bonus levels, we unlock our final achievement for beating them all, and with that we have officially mastered Bomberman Hero, making this my 16th mastery on retro achievements. I really hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I had a ton of fun playing this game once again and finally 100% completing it. The achievement set was a really nice one too. The speedrun challenges added some nice spice to the run, but none of them were too difficult, so this ended up being a pretty laid back and easy mastery. Definitely a good recommendation for anybody who's a fan of platformers like this. As always, if you guys enjoyed the video, I would really appreciate likes and comments. Those engagements help the channel grow and reach new people. If you're new to the channel, I upload a video just like this every week, so if you enjoyed this one, then make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the next one. And I also stream a lot of these games live over on Twitch, so feel free to follow me over on there as well if you want to hang out while we do some live achievement hunting. And for all my fellow retro achievement hunters, feel free to follow me on Retro Achievements if you want a sneak peek at what else I'm working on for future videos. That brings us to the end of this week's video, gamers. Once again, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one.